I'm Brian Lilly. Welcome back to Byline. Marry out, move out. That is the rule on a native reserve in Quebec, but some members are fighting to change it. The Mohawk Council of Ganawage is being sued by a group who want to abolish a rule forbidding mixed native and non-native couples from living in the community. There are reportedly 50 non-natives living on the reserve, and in the past month, some members have tried to enforce the rule and evict them. Political commentator Eric Duhaime joins me now from Three Rivers, Quebec. Eric, this is an ongoing story that's been flaring up for years.
It's been going on forever. It always comes back. It seems like every 2-3 years we have a new scandal, a new family screaming. This time around there's 7 more who are saying that this is not fair, that they want to get married or their spouses are not Aboriginal and they're from outside the reserve. It's kind of ironic that a few kilometers away from downtown Montreal in 2014, we still tolerate this kind of segregation, not to say apartheid, where people cannot live in certain neighborhoods based on their race. I think it's the kind of thing that a lot of people in Canada would consider unacceptable if it weren't for Aboriginal, but because it's our Aboriginal friends, it seems that there's a double standard, and the left, who usually always is ready to talk and very vocal against racism on this issue, they happen to stay very silent when this debate raises.
I mean, let's be clear, not everyone on the reserve is in favor of this rule.
No.
This is kind of like a civil war inside the Ganawage Reserve, but here's the rule that dates back to 1981. A member who A, married or marries a non-Indigenous person after May 22nd, 1981, or B, commenced or commences after May 22nd, 1981, a common law relationship with a person who has no Ganawage or Indigenous lineage will have their entitlement to receive any of the benefits and services as a member suspended for so long as they remain married or in a common law relationship with the non-Indigenous person. So these families are saying that they're having all kinds of harassment on the reserves.
Anonymous letters.
Yeah, signs posted saying, hey, cool, I live with a white man.
Petitions by neighbors signed and sent anonymously to those people saying that you need to move out, this is illegal, what you're doing is unacceptable, it's a threat to our identity, to our language, to our history. You need to have actually 4 great-grandparents who are Aboriginal. There's blood tests, it's crazy. And we're tolerating it we're tolerating almost anything that goes on Aboriginal reserves, Brian, because unfortunately, it's not the only unacceptable thing that's happening there where there's a lot of tolerance. As you know, there's a lot of smuggling out there. The illegal tobacco and the illegal cigarettes are booming currently right now. It's been like that for years. Our RCMP does hesitate. They don't want to be on the reserves. They don't want to arrest anybody. They try to catch people outside the reserve. It seems that it's no man's land. They do whatever they want and nobody is telling them that it makes no sense. It's like if they weren't living in Canada, actually. We accept that those territories have different rules, different laws, and some people on those reserves are pushing the envelope right now.
Do you think that Canadians really like race-based laws in 2014? Because I know I don't. I think we should be getting rid of the Indian Act. Rob Clark, by the way, who is an Indian member of Parliament, Conservative member of Parliament, he wants it gone. I believe he had a private member's bill before the last election calling for that. We shouldn't be having any race-based laws in this country.
Absolutely. I mean, racism is bad. No matter if it's in favor or against, in favor of the majority or in favor of the minority, racism is racism. And everybody should be equal, and race should not be a factor to discriminate and tell you on which territory you can live in Canada and which territory you can't live. Unfortunately, it's not applying right now, Brian, and it's not going to change because politically, there's all that political correctness that forbids us to even talk about it.
I want to ask you about the politics of it because Julius Gray is a lawyer who has come forward. He's helping with the lawsuit, well-known Montrealer, part of the Montreal elite, I would argue.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there reaction from the political class in Montreal, in the surrounding areas? Is the Premier talking about this?
It's a very sensitive issue, as you would imagine. They don't want to alienate their contacts and their links with the Aboriginal community out there. So unfortunately, it's not something that is raised a lot politically. Very few politicians will talk about what's going on in Kanawake. We all remember what happened in Quebec in the past. We had a difficult past with some of those community, particularly particularly in Kanisatake, north of Montreal.
That's the sister reserve on the other side of the island, other side of the St. Lawrence.
Absolutely. That's where, you remember, a policeman got shot, and there was a huge crisis that led also to the blockage of the bridge that we're talking about on the south shore of Montreal towards that reserve, that Kanawake. It was a huge crisis 20-something years ago, and I think that all the political class is terrorized in Quebec, to shake down too much that kind of controversy. So nobody wants to talk about it. They're trying to do like if it doesn't exist, trying to ignore it. But unfortunately, while they're doing that, there's segregation, not to say apartheid, that is going on a few kilometers away from downtown Montreal right now.
Well, as usual, Eric, you're not afraid to speak on the controversial topics. That's why you've got a new book out on Quebec's government-run liquor stores. It's called the SAQ. La SAQ pousse le bouchon. The SAQ pushes it. If you can read French, consider picking up Eric's books. Always.
It's time also to end the public monopolies on the liquor stores all across Canada.
Couldn't agree more. Eric, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Brian.
All right.